storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Played a decent schedule. They had maybe 500.
It just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And you're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's your Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills were notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Pop one of those gold coins.
Oh, baby!
Welcome into Sports Millions over here on the grid. I'm Joe Madden, joined by Tom Vecchio today. We've got a great show. We're going to jump into 3 games for you. We're going to start off with the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders. We'll move then on to the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New York Giants and finish it up with the LA Rams versus the New York Jets. Tom, how's your day starting?
My day's great. We are coming off of a huge week. We have an upcoming week that is absolutely massive playoff implications. We have a rookie quarterback with Michael Penix starting for the Atlanta Falcons. As you said, I'm ready to get rolling.
Yeah, I'm excited to get rolling in this divisional matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Looking at this one, are you expecting the Eagles to play a solid run game against the Washington Commanders here?
I am. I think we have to. There's been a lot of talk with the Eagles over the last few weeks. They weren't passing the ball. Then last week they passed the ball a ton, and we're seeing massive production from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I think we see somewhat similar this week. I'm not going to say the same volume in passing. I think that's scaled down just a little bit. So it does have me trusting Saquon Barkley. So specifically for him, I say we just started off super simple, higher than half a rushing touchdown for Saquon. Get the ball in the end zone. They're a best player. We've seen it all season long. I think that's the easiest spot to start. I don't know what you're expecting from their offense or the Commanders' offense overall, but I have a really maybe my favorite pick of the entire slate, not just this game, but the entire slate with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels has to go off in this one. I think he has to use his legs. I think we're going to see a solid run game out of both of these teams. So I love where you're going with Saquon Barkley. We know Saquon Barkley's been able to put up those touchdowns versus the Washington Commanders. I'm expecting a tighter game than we did see in the last one with these two teams, though. So I'm going to look at Saquon Barkley. And when you talk about Jaden Daniels there, I think you've got to look at his rushing yards higher. I'm going to take him for rushing yards higher than 41.5. Where are you going with Jaden Daniels?
So as no matter what show I do, I always like to talk about, a little bit of correlation. If this happens, what are we expecting on the other side? And if Saquon's going to be scoring, Jaden Daniels and Commanders offense are going to have to move the ball. So over or higher than 19.5 pass completions. If we look at his game log, he has been absolutely awesome. He started off the year super hot, went through a little bit of a lull, 25, 25, 25, 22 completions over this last stretch of games. They are moving the ball efficiently. They are scoring on offense. We're getting different options involved. Doesn't matter if it's Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler's out now, so Brian Robinson's playing a bigger role. We obviously see Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. It does not matter. They are moving the ball effectively. This is still a great defense on the Eagles side of things, but Jaden Daniels has to have a big game. So it's on the ground, it's in the air. I'm expecting an awesome one this weekend.
Yeah, I think we actually could have the upset here with the Washington Commanders. So I love where you're going with Jaden Daniels for hire on both of those. You mentioned Brian Robinson Jr. here. I do think he needs to feast on the ground in this matchup. His rushing yards coming in at 56.5. Are you willing to take that higher? Or do you think we should look at his rushing yards? His rushing yards or rushing attempts, 14.5. Higher, I'm leaning towards. I think we're going to have to see him get those attempts on the ground. I like the 14.5 to the higher, Tom.
Absolutely. 14.5, 56.5. I think it's kind of the same situation. We're essentially building the same game script where the Commanders do keep this close. Like you said, if you're expecting a little bit of an upset, they may have the ball a little bit more. They may be able to just, eat up some time, run a few extra plays. So I think we can go with either. I would prefer the yards, but the attempts is certainly fine.
Now, what are you thinking here for Jalen Hurts getting that ball up in the air? We know the Washington Commanders have issues in that secondary. We're looking at A.J. Brown coming in with a receiving yard pick here of 53.5 yards. We can take that to the higher or lower. I would think A.J. Brown would get that ball. Lots of attempts out there. Is this number just getting a little too high for you, though? I don't think so. I really do think with how explosive Hurts can be out there, we're going to see some big passes to him.
Yeah, I think we certainly can. Like what I said at the top is, what are we expecting from the Eagles offense? They're going to be passing at the same rate that they did last week. Did they kind of quiet the storyline that their passing offense was an issue in that very close win over the Carolina Panthers a few weeks ago? And then they obviously had to pass a ton last week. For me, comfortably with Hurts, we can go with the rushing yards, that is. Obviously, his rushing touchdown is always in play as well. I think the safest would probably be pass completions at 16.5. We're essentially building the same thing. Like, you want to take the yards, you want to take a specific receiver. I want to play it safe with Hurts just because sometimes we do see it. Sometimes it's a big Smith game. Sometimes it's a big Brown game. But ultimately, if either one of them is having a big game, it's probably Hurts as the starting point, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. I love him for that rushing touchdown out there higher than a half. I do think that tush push is just so strong for the Philadelphia Eagles here, and I can't believe that we're able to get it just over the half rushing touchdowns. I expected this to be over 1.5 rushing touchdowns because we know how strong he is there on the ground in the red zone. So I'm going to take that to the higher. I do think his pass completions do come into play in this one as well, that 16.5 to the higher as well. We have lots of opportunities on Hurts. Is there anyone else you want to circle in this matchup?
You would like to think that we see a big game from Terry McLaurin, 63.5 for his receiving yards. That has to be in play, especially if we're expecting an upset. We're expecting the Commanders to move the ball. He's their number one option on offense. As good as Brian Robinson is, Terry McLaurin getting the ball to him, I think, is the right route to go if the Commanders are operating rationally. A little bit of an upset potential for them. So I think we have to see, despite the defense on the other side for the Eagles, which is absolutely awesome this year, and I think they're a little bit underrated overall, McLaurin being involved early and often is probably one of the best routes that they can go to coming away with this episode or just putting points on the board in general. So higher than 63.5 for McLaurin as well.
Okay, I can get behind the higher on him. What about Darius Slade Jr.? We have a defensive pick here that we can look at. 3.5 tackles plus assists. I like to the higher. We know what this defense brings to the table, and I love what the Eagles are able to do. They were able to get to Jaden Daniels in the last matchup, and I do think this is going to be a tough game here for the Washington Commanders. Apologies in this one. I think Darius Slade Jr. will be able to make some huge tackles out there. 4 seems light for me, so I will take the higher than 3.5 tackles and assists for Darius Slade Jr. of the Eagles.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm trying to think, like, if I like Jaden Daniels over 19.5 pass completions, that means they're running some, like, a higher amount of plays. And that just means the Eagles defense will be on the field. Even though the Eagles may be in control of this game and the Commanders may be playing from behind, just a higher volume of plays overall will give him more opportunities to pick up 4 tackles plus assists. So that builds into essentially what I'm expecting for this game, which is some good back and forth action, higher amount of plays run from the Commanders. The Eagles may control the ball, may control the clock, et cetera, but Slay should be able to get there.
It should be a great matchup between these two. I think I've got everything that I'm liking for my picks in this one. I've got 6 of them locked in right now, Tom. I'll go over them. I just want to make sure before I do that you don't have anything else that you're looking at.
No, I want to stick with the main 3 that I like. Hurts completions higher, Daniels also completions higher, and then Saquon starting it off nice and simple with that half rushing touchdown higher than that. Scoring from the Eagles, Commanders play from behind a little bit. They got to move the ball in offense. That's what I'm expecting. What about you?
Okay, I'm going to go with Darius Slay Jr. here for his tackles and assists to the higher of 3.5. Jalen Hurts for his rushing touchdown higher than 0.5. AJ Brown for his receiving yards higher than 73.5. And then for the Washington Commanders, Brian Robinson Jr. higher than 14.5 rushing yards. Jaden Daniels higher than 41.5 rushing yards. Oh, and then Saquon Barkley higher than a half rushing a touchdown. So in my payout multiplier, that's coming in with nice 11-1.
11-1. I'm at 6-1. Overall, I just think we're in for an awesome game. 2 great teams, late season division rivals, both pushing towards the playoffs. We're going to be in for a great one this weekend.
We're in for a fantastic matchup between these two. You guys, we're coming up against a break. We'll be back in the next couple minutes here on the grid for Sports Millions. Don't go anywhere.
Pop one of those gold coins.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out. Just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Pop one of those gold coins.
Welcome back over to Sports Millions here on the grid. I'm Joe Madden, joined by Tom Vecchio. We're breaking down the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants. But first, if you enjoy Sports Millions Pick'Em but hate making picks yourself, well, Sports Millions has you covered. Head on over and play Sports Millions Blitz'Em right now and let your computer do the work. Go to sportsmillions.com/blitz'em to be able to win big prizes without having to make a single pick yourself. That's sportsmillions.com/blitz'em. Okay, Tom, let's jump into this matchup here between the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm really interested in seeing how the Giants come out in this one. We know this team has struggled all season, and the question mark is, do any of these players really show up in this matchup for you?
That's the question we're asking about the Giants. Like, what are we going to get from them? The inconsistency on offense. It's now Drew Lock back at the helm for them. What are we getting from their offense? Frankly, I think we have to pick like one from the Giants, which I just kind of want to get over and move on. But it's so much more interesting when it comes to the Falcons side of things. Obviously, with Michael Penix Jr., now the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins was benched. I think they have to let Michael Penix throw the ball. That's what this comes down to. And we don't want to say like, oh, he's a rookie. They made this change for a reason. Let's get him out there. Let's get him in the offense. The issue with the offense the entire time this season, at least for the majority for Atlanta, is passing the ball. It's not Robinson in the backfield. He's been awesome. So Michael Penix, higher than 226.5 passing yards, has to be the start. Because even if it's inefficient, it's garbage time, like they're not going to be the prettiest yards overall. But him getting the ball out is why they have him in there, because Kirk Cousins has been so bad. So Penix is one of my favorites of the entire week.
You're going big on Penix right out of the gate. I like where you're going, having that faith in him to be able to move the ball. And we know he should be able to here on the New York Giants secondary that is having those issues. So I like where you're going. But what do you think? Because you mentioned the Giants, you want to get them out of the way. Drew Lock, he's still playing for something. If you're looking at anyone on the Giants team, I would think it's Drew Lock to come out and prove himself as a quarterback out here. Should we be looking at any of his picks? I think we can look probably at his rushing yards, even though Drew Lock isn't too mobile. 17.5 is his rushing. I like it to the higher.
I do too. There have been times, what was it, the Giants game on Thanksgiving, which we did together. He's out there scrambling a little bit. Like you said, he might be the most mobile overall, but if the Giants are playing from behind, which I don't think would shock anyone, they're going to be pushed into a little bit of a passing game script. And Drew Lock getting out there, scrambling a little bit, picking up some yards. I think that's what we're going to be seeing from him. And like you said, he still has something to prove. A backup, was a starter, backup quarterback, changing teams, all these sorts of things. He gets, passed over for Tommy DeVito when they benched Daniel Jones. So Drew Lock game potentially against what's ultimately a bad defense. Like the Falcons defense shouldn't scare us. Granted, the Giants aren't some amazing offense, but Drew Lock getting out there and having a big game, I think is totally, I don't want to say viable or super realistic this week, but it is a path that will have him stay close in this game.
I absolutely think it will be. Do you like his rushing yards better than his passing yards? Because I do, because I look at the pass game here for Drew Lock, and he's yet to throw a touchdown on the season, thrown those 2 interceptions. I just don't know how much faith I have in that passing game, even though I think he'll need to have some big passes. I think that 292.5, I would prefer to take it to the lower than taking it to the higher. But like you said, if they're behind in this game, we are going to see some deep passes. I just trust in those rushing yards higher than 17.5 more so. What about yourself?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I mean, listen, 50 plus yards in back-to-back games is pretty legit. So I would go there, number one. And number two would probably be higher than 34.5 passing attempts. Again, the yards can be super inconsistent with Drew Lock, throwing some interceptions. They may not be piling up yards at a high rate in the air, but listen, 32 and 49 passing attempts in these 2 starts that he had. They're going to need to throw the ball. If Tracy can't get it going on the ground, I will take the rushing yards first and then the attempts second for Drew Lock.
Okay, now are you ready to move on to the Atlanta Falcons players out here? Because I know you said you just wanted to look at one player here for the Giants, and I'm with you. I think it's scary to look at any of these other players unless we're going to look at the lower, because we really don't know the mindset of that locker room, Tom.
Right. I would agree. Penix, I think, has to be the number one option. If you don't want to trust Drew Lock, obviously you need to have one player from each team. You just want to stick with Malik Neighbors. He's their best player. Like, when it comes down to it, he's their best player. Rookie wide receiver is absolutely phenomenal. Receptions, yards, I think you go to either of them. 67.5 the receiving yards, 6.5 for the receptions. Of course, I would take the receiving yards before the receptions. I think they're both fine. This is, of course, if you don't want to go to Drew Lock, which I do think may be one of the better options. From the Atlanta side of things, like I said, I want to start off with Michael Penix. They have him there for a reason. They're starting him for a reason. Let him move the ball. I think Robinson's numbers are fine. If I want to go outside of there, it's just going to be to Drake London. Like, it's just going to keep it really simple with Drake London. They're going to be passing the ball. Have we seen good stuff from Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod? Have we seen a tremendous amount of inconsistency from Kyle Pitts? Yes, but at the end of the day, outside of Bijan Robinson, the best pass catcher that they have is Drake London. So higher than 65.5, get your best player of the ball outside of Robinson.
Okay, I love where you're going there with Drake London, because I was looking at Michael Penix Jr. here to go higher than the 1.5 passing touchdowns. I do think he surprises a lot of people out here, and it's what the fans have been looking for the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm looking for that big day out of Michael Penix Jr. I will take him higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And then I do think Darnell Mooney will get some of those short passes as well as feast on the ground, because we know the Giants absolutely struggle to defend that run. I'm going to look at Darnell Mooney for 52.5 receiving and rushing to the higher.
I love that. We sometimes, like, listen, Drake London and Bijan Robinson, those are the obvious options. If you want to go to a secondary option, I'm always on board with that. So Falcons come away with the win. Will this be the prettiest game with the Giants on one side and a rookie quarterback getting his first start? I don't know, but it will be exciting to see what the offense looks like for the Falcons now that he's at the helm.
Okay, are you ready to lock your picks in? Because I'm locking in 3 picks. I'll take Darnell Mooney, 52.5 rushing and receiving yards higher. Michael Penix, 1.5 passing touchdowns higher. And Drew Lock, 17.5 rushing yards higher.
Yeah, I'm with Drew Lock. Same thing with there. I'm going with the passing yards for Penix, higher than 226, and then Drake London higher than 65.5. Penix through the air, Drew Lock on the other side.
Okay, I love where we're going with that. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be back. We're going to talk the LA Rams versus the New York Jets in just the next couple of minutes.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Pop one of those gold coins.
Welcome back into Sports Millions here on the grid. I'm Joe Madden, joined by Tom Vecchio. Tom, we're going to start talking the LA Rams versus the New York Jets. Got a great cold weather matchup here.
Yeah, I love the Rams' matchup, but before we get to that, check out the Sports Millions social casino featuring classics, slots, and brand new concepts. The social casino features the opportunity to win large sweepstake coins, and the games are always free to enter. Go play now at sportsmillions.com/social-casino. That's sportsmillions.com/social-casino. Joe, like you said, Rams at the Jets. I think we are in for a fantastic game. And specifically, I love the Rams in this one. I don't know about you, but I think it's all Rams.
I'm kind of torn in this one here because we know Matt Stafford. Well, we give a lot of slack to Jared Goff for not being able to play in cold weather. When you start really breaking down Matt Stafford in that cold weather, are the Jets alive in this one to pull off the upset? I'm kind of thinking that they might be. So we might have some different higher and lowers in this one, Tom.
I think it's shaping up that way. You know, when we're looking at the Jets recently, like my overall take for the Jets is they've quit as a team. There's too much going on just within the team, the organization overall. Over the past few games, Mac Jones for the Jags last week, Mac Jones, 294 passing yards and 2 touchdowns against what is supposed to be a good Jets defense. The week before, Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins. Granted, that game went to overtime. 300 passing yards. You're not going to tell me that Matt Stafford and this offense with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyren Williams can't go higher than 237.5 passing yards? Not to mention the fact that this is a massively important game for the Rams. So I love Matt Stafford this week.
Oh, I'm on the fence, like I said, but it's really hard to trust the New York Jets out here. I think I'm going to look here at Matt Stafford for those passing touchdowns. I think they're going to be able to convert here on the Jets in the red zone. That is where I have the most faith in Matt Stafford in this situation. So I will take him higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns, but you're going to take the 237.5 passing yards then?
I think they move the ball, and when they get to the red zone, like you said, they will score. But there's also a route where Matt Stafford has 1 passing touchdown. Kyren Williams runs in 2. Like they're still moving the ball. They get to the end, they get to the red zone and they score, like you said. So I think the yards will be there. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's no reason he can't slice and dice this defense. And again, hugely important game for the Rams. The Seahawks, which we'll get to, in a couple segments, the Seahawks are playing the Vikings, and if the Seahawks lose, the Rams are in a spot to win the division. So trust Matt Stafford this week.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna listen to you because I look at this Jets team and like you said, it is such a hard team to trust out there to get anything done. Aaron Rodgers has been looking better in the last couple games. We've seen those connections with Davante Adams. So I do think if Aaron Rodgers is coming out strong, we're gonna see that connection with Davante Adams out there on the Rams in this one. But I'm looking, because it's a cold weather game, I think we're gonna have to look at the running backs here for the Jets in this one. So let's look at some running back numbers. We're getting Bryce Hall for his rushing yards, 55.5 rushing yards. I like to the higher.
I do too. I'm also and 55 is absolutely fine. Totally fine with him. I also don't mind the 83.5 rushing plus receiving. He always plays a decent role in the passing game. So depending on what happens in the game script, if the Jets do fall behind, he'll still be on the field and catch those passes out of the backfield. Rams do bring a good amount of pressure. It's not like an overwhelming amount, but Rodgers has, he's not the most mobile guy anymore. So getting those easy passes to Hall, I think, is totally fine. So 55.5 rushing, certainly fine. But I do like the rushing plus receiving as well. I think there's multiple paths to him getting that number.
Okay, I'm playing this one a little cautious. So I'm just going to lock in 2 picks here. Are you locking in anything else?
I would go Stafford, the 237, like I said, and I'm inclined to trust Kyren Williams as well, higher than 82.5. They move the ball in the air, they move the ball on the ground. I don't think it really matters. The touchdowns, again, for one or the other, could be a little bit dicey, but they move the ball. Kyren Williams higher, 82.5 rushing, and then Hall, 83.5 rushing plus receiving, and it's a Stafford week. 237.5 higher than that.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to lock in Kyron Williams as well. Those rushing touchdowns, over half rushing touchdowns, the higher than I really do think he gets in the end zone. So I'm locking in a 3 now, Tom. I'm going to take Kyron Williams higher than a half a rushing touchdown. Bryce Hall, 55.5 rushing yards higher, and Matt Stafford higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. What are you locking in?
Yep, Stafford yards, Hall yards, and Kyron Williams yards higher on all of them. Going to be a Rams week.
It definitely is going to be an interesting matchup between these two. You guys, thanks so much for joining us over here on the grid for Sports Millions. We'll be back tomorrow, so I will see you. Tom will see you back then. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Hey there, welcome to Week 15 of Beat the Odds. It is crunch time in pro football. We got a big